we need to talk about Wednesday. This is way more pink than I wanted. I thought it was going to be red. With all the hype that followed the announcement for Wednesday and Jenna Ortega's take on this new character, I was personally really excited. Not only for my love of the source material, but also for some personal connections I have to the Addams family. But that excitement quickly faded away as I began the first episode. This show is as if it's written by a bunch of old white men who are writing exactly what they think Gen Z wants to hear, while missing the mark tremendously. And, convenient enough, it is written by two old white men.
Got him!
The writing and producing partners Alfred Goh and Miles Miller, who are known for some amazing movies, such as Spider-Man 2, Shanghai Noon, and to some more recent developments, the Monster High TV movie, which is more similar to the writing in this show. The best way I can describe Wednesday is if they took Riverdale and Teen Wolf and they had a baby and they were only allowed to watch Disney Channel original movies. But not only is the dialogue cringy and contrived, they really try their best to push the message. They unnecessarily include quips about technology and how bad phones and social media is for young people and the brain.
I find social media to be a soul-sucking void of meaningless affirmation.
But they don't even know what it's like growing up with social media. So how are you pushing this message that you don't fully understand yourself? To give a quick rundown of the show as I understand it so far, it's basically a mystery thriller where they're trying to have Wednesday as a detective, trying to solve mysteries in her school in Evermore, which is a boarding school she was put into with a bunch of other outcasts that are monsters. Okay, I'll get into that in a second. But basically, it's a detective thriller comedy, high school drama, cliquey TV show. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. But back to the writing. The world building is atrocious. Something so unique about the Addams family in any movie you see them is that their gothic nature and their love for the macabre is never really capitalized on. In most of the original comic strips, as well as the movies, whenever they would mention murder or something really strange they did, or even torturing each other for fun, wouldn't really be thought on or show any consequences for. Now this is okay in that world because that's the universe that's built around them. They are weird, but they get away with this crazy stuff because that's who they are, the Addams family. They're outsiders. They're not supposed to be this normal family. They're a complete opposite of the nuclear family that was so popular in the time, where they can do the unforgivable and be forgiven. But the thing in this show that they forget about within the first 5 minutes is after the opening sequence, which I think is the best sequence in the entire episode, they run, but within the introduction to the world, you see this perfect scenario where Wednesday goes and drops piranhas into this high school pool to get revenge on them for bullying her brother. It's set up perfectly, the execution is great, but immediately her family faces consequences. But they run from their problems and send her to their boarding school to escape legal action from this kid's mom. Excuse me? Aren't the Addams family supposed to do crazy stuff and it's supposed to be taken like with a grain of salt as like mundane? Like, yeah, they're crazy, and yeah, every other line she's like, I murdered someone, or like, I love torture and decapitation. But then 2 scenes later, the sheriff is telling her that her dad's a murderer and he should be in jail, and she's actually upset about this. Wouldn't you be happy your dad's a murderer? You're missing the whole point of the Addams family. When she arrives at this school, it's supposed to be made for outcasts, so you think it's people who are similar to the Addams family, who are gothic and love like weird things and death. But no, it's a school for monsters. It's literally Monster High. This is Monster High 2. Her roommate, who unfortunately isn't the best actor in this series, or maybe it's just what she was given to work with. I mean, she might be doing the best, but there is some scenes with her that it's so hard to get through.
Don't mess with me. This kitty's got claws and I'm not afraid to use them.
But as her roommate is showing her around, she explains there's 4 cliques: the vampires, the werewolves, the sirens, and the stoners. Bro, what is this writing? How can you have Tim Burton's name on a project and have no respect for the story or the world you're building? And I'll get into Tim Burton in a second. That's another thing. But her being thrust into this new school completely throws you off. It's a shock that monsters are accepted in this world. And if they are, then how come the neighboring neighborhood is all humans, or normies as they call them, and all the outcasts are monsters? Are there a lot of monsters? Is a whole society of monsters? Where are their parents? Is like a separate world like Harry Potter? Is it like supernatural but they don't know they exist? Do they know they exist? Sometimes the sheriff seems like he knows they exist, but Who knows? They don't explain it. And things I read so far, they don't explain it the whole season. Now, I'm hoping they're wrong when I finish it and put my next video out on my final thoughts, but this first episode just led me down the wrong road. It just begs the question of what is accepted in this world. Are monsters accepted or are they not? Is murder okay and funny to be joked about like Wednesday does?
You're not gonna believe the dirt I heard about your new roommate. She eats human flesh. Totally chowed down on that kid she murdered. You better watch your back.
But working past all of this monster bullshit, these creators haven't been in high school for like 50 years. They obviously don't understand the dynamic of young people in school anymore, or what's even like to be in school with social media. Oh, and when they name drop TikTok, I just wanted to turn it off right away. But let's talk about the casting, which of course I have another problem with. I'm sorry, I am full of problems today. Jenna Ortega does a great job. I think for the character of Wednesday, the one they're trying to portray, she's really good. You kind of see there's more behind the blank stare that she gives, like she knows more than what's going on. Even though I think some of our lines are pretty cheesy and contrived, I mean, she pulls it off.
Editor Preston here. I do want to say, Jenna Ortega actually learned how to play the cello and played the final song at the end of episode 1, and it was really good, and I think that was probably one of the better scenes in the whole episode.
But moving on to her family, the Addams family is so iconic. Their characters are so charismatic, so well defined in all media they've been portrayed in. But Luis Guzman, I'm sorry, I thought he was a good cast for the role because it was accurate. And no, you don't need a conventionally attractive actor. You need someone who can be the role. They could have casted Jack Black, and yes, he's not a Latino actor. I think it's really nice they kept with the original origins of the family and the heritage. But like, he would have been more charismatic and more like Gomez. I mean, he's trying his best with this Morticia because they have zero chemistry. Zero chemistry. It was so hard to get through that first scene. And every scene with Morticia just drags on. I don't know if she's trying to portray the same vibe from the 90s movie. It's overall disappointing whenever they're on screen because you want to see these amazing actors portray these characters that are so iconic that you instantly know who they are. The line delivery as Gomez, like, it has to be flamboyant and charismatic and big. And it's just not. And it just falls flat just like Morticia. They need to take a note from Jenna Ortega. You can be bland, but say so much more in what you're not saying or what you're not portraying. But I guess for the limited screen time they have, I'll give them a break there. But the rest of the school, I mean, come on.
Whoa. You're in black and white. Like a living Instagram filter.
It's just so cringy. It's hard to watch and just think that Tim Burton was like, yeah, that was good. Let's not do another one. Sir? I'll give credit where credit's due. I think the two guys that are like her love interest in this show actually give a pretty good performance. Like, it's believable. The sheriff is actually really good.
2 final points from Editor Preston. I think that Christine Ricci coming back and reprising a role in the series is amazing, and she's a really good actress, so I like all her parts that were in episode 1. And also the practical effects for Thing, the hand, it's really great, and I think, if anything, that's probably the most Tim Burton-esque thing in the show. So I'm kind of excited to see where that kind of goes as well.
But outside of all that, some things I do want to praise are the production value. The costumes and the sets are gorgeous. Like, the set production on this was so well thought out. And even though I think they really do only have one main area to kind of focus on, all the sets are really well put together. They match the Gothic theme. And I want to give credit to them because the thing is, when people do their job well, you don't notice it. Finally, I want to leave with one last complaint. This is a side note I forgot to add. They broke the #1 rule with thrillers. You don't reveal the monster or the enemy. The worst monster is people's imagination. So when they reveal the monster in the first episode, why would you break the cardinal rule, Tim Burton? Why? This show does not feel like Tim Burton directed it. If his name wasn't on the opening credits, I would have no idea he was even attached to the show. And it really doesn't feel like he is at all. But in the same context, maybe he didn't have as much freedom. Kind of doubt that because Tim Burton is probably one of the main reasons people wanted to watch this show, and you just don't see any of his creative freedom in the show at all, with scenes that are abhorrently paced and widely unjustified story they're trying to put across. The world just feels bland. But, as I said, I'm hopeful. I'm going to try to finish the series. I'm going to get through the last, I think there's 7 more episodes, 8 episodes total. And I'll come back to you guys with my final thoughts. Please leave in the comments what your thoughts are. Subscribe if you do want to come back for that video. Make sure you guys leave a like down below. And thanks for watching.